We were all raised with the belief that humans were a passive species, scoring only 4 out of 32 on the aggressiveness index. According to Galactic Federation statistics, they were among the lowest in terms of aggressiveness. Every interaction with the Terran Union affirmed this perception of them as adept diplomats, inherently peaceful individuals, and a nation averse to strife. They preferred to have talks to settle disputes, and they didn't seem capable of making large hostile motions. However, everyone was mistaken. Earth enthusiastically accepted the Federation's invitation to join. Neither fear nor resistance existed. They saw the offer as a chance to communicate with the rest of the cosmos, share resources, ideas, and information. They had not engaged in combat for millennia prior to that point, having unified their world under a single government even before they achieved interplanetary travel. Any issue that emerged was handled diplomatically, always managing to find a compromise. This position had been tested on several occasions. The Federation readied itself for an impending confrontation when the Zanuck, notorious for their territorial ambitions, seized a human mining station. The Terrans were expected to protect their colony by everyone, but to the amazement of all, mankind offered the planet in return for a meager yearly tribute. A favorable arrangement resulted from what many had anticipated would be a conflict. The human response was one of total tolerance, even with the Hodo, who were renowned for their paranoia. People on Earth expected a severe reaction when Earth's diplomats were detained on spurious allegations of espionage. However, they chose communication once more, arranging a prisoner swap and averting a military confrontation. Within the Federation, opinions were split by these sentiments. For some, Terran patience was an indication of advancement and decency, while others, like myself, felt they lacked the courage to speak up. I was among the pessimists. The fact that people would never use force again said more about their frailty than their virtue, in my opinion. To me, it seemed naive to think that a species could exist in the cosmos without facing its adversaries. That was, however, before the Ravagers. The sole goal of the Ravagers' attacks on star systems was to exhaust the energy of their stars. They appeared out of nowhere in the cosmos. We had no idea why they did what they did. All we knew was that they attacked with an intensity that defied description, wiping out every system they came across. Our initial encounters with them proved to be devastating. It seemed that our strikes on their ships had no impact, not even with the most modern military equipment. We were no longer proud to be military. Despite the Federation's best military efforts, our armies were defeated one by one. I knew that retreating was the only course of action. When I eventually delivered the command, we had suffered tremendous defeats, and winning was unattainable. I put out a frantic cry for assistance to any other species inside the Federation. I received complete quiet in return. Not a single country, not even the smaller ones, was prepared to send reinforcements. Everyone had come to the conclusion that individual survival was more significant than group resistance. Then, the human ships showed up on our sensors, 5 vessels, merely 5. It seemed like a farce, an insincere display of power. The so-called cowards from Earth were the only ones who volunteered to battle after other, more powerful Federation members had deserted us. That was insignificant, those few ships wouldn't matter. We were all alone. Sir, our communications officer is telling us that the Terrans are calling. What are their plans, in their opinion? My first officer Blaze jokingly said, causing the crew to giggle nervously. But I was aware that we couldn't afford to turn down any assistance, no matter how little. I gave the command, put them on the screen. The display showed a picture of a person. He appeared composed, if not a touch solemn. His robust face was framed by black hair. Federation, this is Terran Union Commander Mikey Rov. We are available to provide support. Despite my doubts, I nodded slightly in appreciation. Commander, I appreciate you coming. General Kylon is who I am. Heavy losses befell our fleet. We advise you to enroll in our cause to assist us in paying for the withdrawal. The human gave a few quick blinks, as though he was having trouble believing what he was hearing. General, our objectives are not the same. Let's confront and vanquish the foe." I laughed uncontrollably. It was obvious that he was unaware of how serious the situation was. "With all due respect, Commander, thousands of enemy ships are in our midst. Not even your 5 ships will matter. Our fleet, which numbered in the hundreds, was destroyed by the ravagers. You people are pacifists, retrench and do as we have done." Rov did not take his eyes off the ball. "Pacifists?" He appeared sincere in his confusion. "The Federation categorized us as a species that is peaceful." I was shocked that he was in the dark. "Yes, according to the aggression index, you are among the lowest. They never get into a fight. Everything is resolved diplomatically." The human commander chuckled briefly. We were misunderstood, I believe, General. Do you know why we don't fight wars? It has nothing to do with abandoning fear." He gave me a straight stare, and for an instant, I hesitated because of something in his gaze. "It's because we are aware of our abilities. Nobody has merited it thus far." I felt uneasy after hearing that final statement. His tone conveyed that he genuinely thought what he was saying. Threats from others, which I used to laugh at, now seemed like ominous promises. He tried to keep his posture straight as he responded, "I won't stop you if you insist on fighting, but be aware that you will be left alone." "We're heading out," Rov only gave a nod. "That will suffice." I was sure that those careless people would be slaughtered in a few minutes, so I braced myself to see the impending carnage. What could 5 brittle Terran ships do against the ravagers, after all? But what came next was beyond anything we could have imagined. I heard the commander turn to his weapons officer. "Still listening? Ensign Carter, prepare missile fire in 5 seconds." Shock raced across my thoughts. I could hardly believe what Rov had just said. "Wait, did you just say this weapon can destroy everything?" I asked myself. Were they aware of their own potential? What sort of weapon were they going to employ? But it was too late now. I couldn't stop them before the rocket was fired. The bullet approached the Devastator formation and went through their ships without directly striking any, as seen on the screen of our ship. My eyes grew wide with perplexity. Had they failed to hit their target? However, everything changed as the shell burst at the end of the hostile formation. An unfathomably large explosion ripped across space. Our sensor simply failed due to the high energy, displaying just faults. A third of the Ravager fleet was suddenly annihilated, incinerated in a surge of heat and energy that turned their ships into metallic shards. The impact was terrible. This was unlike anything I had ever seen. This deadly power was well beyond the reach of even our most potent weaponry. The spacecraft of the Devastators started to disappear, consumed by an unseen force. It appeared as though the area surrounding them was diminishing. The ships, which moments earlier appeared unbeatable, started to break apart piece by piece. I could watch the Ravager fleet being annihilated at the molecular level. Though it was too late, the remaining ships attempted to respond. Before they could fire, their systems broke. The enemy's arsenal vanished in a matter of seconds, and the ships that were left were destroyed beyond recognition, seemingly by an uncontrollable force. The opposing fleet, which had appeared unbeatable minutes earlier, was totally annihilated. I was seeing things that I couldn't believe. One missile, the Terran weapon, had reduced an entire army to cosmic dust. Horror filled my entire body. What would happen if people turned against the Federation one day? If they had this type of power, defense against that level of force was unthinkable. They had developed a weapon so destructive that it might genuinely wipe out everything, maybe even the cosmos, as the commander had speculated. I saw my crew members' identical looks of incredulity as I scanned the bridge of my spacecraft. His eyes reflected my own horror. I've been underestimating the Terrans for years. I've always considered their inability to fight to be a weakness. Now, I understand what it truly meant, self-control, not weakness. Since they could easily destroy any opponent, they refrained from going to battle. Commander Rob smiled and added, "Well, that was easy," ending the stillness. He paused and said, "Next time, General, just call us from the beginning." His nonchalant smile gave me a chill. Tell me, what do you think? How about you buy me a beer next time we meet? I was at a loss for words for a while. A lager, and he was expecting a drink as compensation after they had just used a terrible weapon to wipe out a whole fleet. Much more would have been needed for any other species. It was as though he was unaware of the magnitude of the force he had just demonstrated. Yes, we can accomplish that, I answered, still in disbelief. Rob grinned once again and cut the connection. The 5 Terran spacecraft were getting ready to go into hyperspace and out of sight, and I watched in astonishment. There was a thick hush on the bridge after that. What have we just seen?